Hi there, Chris from TotallyEV, and here we're doing a dedicated audio review of the Hyundai Ioniq 5. Now if you want a dedicated review of the vehicle itself, do check it out on your pop banner down the description below or indeed in the pinned comments. Now the model on review today is the Ultimate trim and therefore has the Bose 7+1 sound system. The plus one is the subwoofer, and for the other 7 drivers you've got 5 at the front and 2 at the rear. If you go for the non-Ultimate trim you do have 4 speakers only, and therefore you've only got 2 at the front and 2 at the rear with no subwoofer. Now I'm hoping to get some more information from Hyundai, but at the time of filming I don't have it, but if I do get it, it'll be down in the written review that will be found on our website down below. Now for you to interact with the audio system, indeed to tinker around with it, you can use the infotainment system to tailor your EQ. Now in my case I have increased the treble by 2 notches, increased 1 notch to the mid-range and taken 3 notches off the bass. At least to my ears that's what I felt had the best sort of response and in terms of the overall accuracy of the system. We'll talk about each of these frequency bands just further down this review, but for you to connect up to the infotainment system you can use Bluetooth, where the SPC and AAC codecs are supported only. Slightly ashamed not to see the aptX or LDAC codecs, but nevertheless if you want the highest quality fidelity then you're going to want to plug in your smartphone via USB connection, and here Android Auto and Apple CarPlay are supported. Now before proceeding I should also reference the cabin noise, and here the Ioniq 5 is pretty good on the whole. At a standstill I recorded via sound meter 35 to 36 dBA, while driving around 20 to 30 miles an hour it was 52 to 55 dBA, driving at 40 miles an hour it went up to 59 dBA, and driving at 70 miles an hour it was around 67 dBA. Of course that's pretty good across the board in comparison to its competitors, and therefore the cabin is pretty well insulated. But now let's move on to a sound demo. The song I'll be using is from Priya J. The song name is called Falling. You can find it down below if in case you're interested, and of course we'll be getting onto my subjective opinion after the demo.
Then learn how to fly. It's the only way you know how to play this game to success. I'm not quite sussed it yet. When I reach the brink, don't stop to think. I always sing, and now thing is my imagination is constantly racing 1,000 miles ahead. I'm living in my own mind, but it's flowing, I'm always hoping. But when I reach the brink, don't stop to think. I always sing, and
Now with the audio demo out of the way, let's get onto my subjective opinion, and first off let's talk about that sub-bass extension. Now in comparison to other systems out there on the market and ones that I've reviewed, say for example the Polestar 2, the Tesla Model 3, or let's say the Kia Soul EV or Volvo XC40 Recharge Twin Pro, here all these other vehicles provide a far better experience in the sub-bass department. The Ioniq 5 just feels a little bit cut short and doesn't prolong as much on those sub-bass tones. But on the flip side, the mid-bass is pretty hearty. It comes out and gives you a lot of excitement, so if you're listening to R&B or dance music you'll be left with a smile on your face, and there's a pretty good control across the range as well. Now with that emphasis on the mid-bass, the mids are somewhat recessed. Now you can EQ it to a certain degree through the infotainment system, but as you might have noted before I only added 1 notch. So why is that? Well, because if you add more than that it takes away from the overall accuracy and it gives a somewhat artificial mid-range reproduction. So it really depends in terms of your own hearing, but in my opinion I just had to accept that I've got a V-shaped sound signature and the mid-range wasn't coming at the forefront. The same couldn't be said about, again, some of its competitors, specifically the Tesla Model 3, which completely trumps the Ioniq 5 in this department. Now as for the highs, they do extend pretty well. I had no problems whatsoever at the front of the cabin, although the same couldn't be quite said at the rear of the cabin where the dedicated tweeters are missing. So therefore it means that your rear occupants won't be left as excited with their music because the cymbals will be coming from the front of the cabin. Now as for the Soundstage, instrument separation is pretty much faultless. I had no problems whatsoever. It could have been a little bit bettered with extra drivers around the cabin, but on the grander scheme of things it's perfectly acceptable. But the overall width and depth is somewhat closed. The Soundstage doesn't come as well airy as some other systems out there on the market, and yet again I was left a little bit disappointed by the Bose sound system found within the Ioniq 5. And so this brings me on to my verdict, and here the Ultimate trim that has the Bose sound system is neither impressive nor is it terrible. It kind of sits in between. One might have potentially expected a little bit more from Hyundai or Bose because its competition really does offer a fantastic audio experience, and in an electric vehicle it's sometimes a little bit more important than you'd find in a regular ICE-based vehicle. Now, nevertheless, I would be intrigued to hear your thoughts in the comment section below as to what you make of the Ioniq 5's audio system, specifically if you've compared it to other audio systems out there on the market. And of course, if you've liked this independent detailed review, definitely do drop a like, subscribe and hit that bell notification, all of which would be greatly appreciated. As such, I've been Chris from TotallyEV, and I'll hopefully see you in the next one. Take care of yourselves, and goodbye.